Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Sam Rattan, and this is the Blue Collar Wine Show, where I help you spend your wine dollars wisely. Just a two-part series on Nero d'Avola, and it was pretty interesting. I love that varietal. I'll probably in the future do more of those episodes because I thought it was so interesting to try those wines. But since we are talking Sicily, I thought it would be very appropriate to do an episode on the wines from Etna, on the volcanic Mount Etna, where they have vineyards all over the place up there. And it's an active volcano. Sounds nuts, doesn't it? But at least the volcano doesn't do huge eruption. They occasionally will blow up a little bit. They have to close down the airport, that sort of thing. But overall, not too many disasters up on Etna. But you can imagine. We went up and visited Planeta, and Planeta was the winery where they did one of the scenes in White Lotus in the second season up in that Planeta winery. That isn't why we went. We went because I really like Planeta. They're a top-notch winery, and we went up there and tried through some of their wines, and it was really fun to go up and drive up there. Somebody drove us up there. It was really cool. Very cool vineyards. Of course, volcanic soil, you can imagine, very nutrient-rich soil up there. You know why they want to plant vines there. Actually, Sicily was Etna was the first DOC on Sicily, and it was established in 1968. So it's been around a while. They've been planting vineyards there for a long time, and we're going to look at a Bianco and two Rosso from the winery Nicosia. Yeah, so very nutrient rich. You have copper, iron, magnesium, phosphorus, among other things up there. And these roots tap into those nutrients and make some fantastic wines. Not necessarily inexpensive, all of them, but they're in the not terribly pricey range, in my opinion. And so we're going to get started right off the bat with the Etna Bianco from Nicosia. This is 80% Carricante. Carricante, a grape that many of you are probably not familiar with, but it's very common up on Etna. And then 20% Catarratto, which is the most widely planted white grape in Sicily. So Catarratto, Carricante, I've had one of the most beautiful white wines I had was from Planeta. It was 100% Carricante. It's pricey, but man, it was just amazing white wine. So let's get started right off with the Etna Bianco from Nicosia, 80% Carricante, 20% Catarratto. Kind of appley on the nose, a little applesauce action going on. Now, they can call it superior Etna Bianco if it has 80% Carricante, but it has to be from the particular region of commune of Milo. So this one does not say superior on it, but it's Lusa di Monti, but not superior. So it's obviously not grown in the commune of Milo. Look at the color on that. Really, really golden color. And I noticed that about Carricante. I can smell the minerals like dusty, kind of wet stone. Oh, I just spilled on my shirt. Way to go, Stan. Oh, that's what washing machines are for. A little vigorous on my swirling. I get a little quince, a touch of pear. I get some white flower notes. I get some dusty minerals. Some melon and apple. Pretty aromatic, white. Let's see what we get on the palate. That's what I love about Etna Biancos. They're so intense. Good acidity. Great food wine. This would be great with fish, clams, mussels, any of that. Good minerality, but it's not like crushed rock minerality. It's just kind of like that wet stone. A little bit of, you can get, the volcanic soil really, really messes with these whites in a good way. The melon notes come through, pear, definitely pear notes. Interesting kind of herbal quality to it that I didn't get on the nose. Get a little bit of herb action. Pear, then just the apple kind of hides in the background just a little bit. You can taste it there. Nice complexity, good mineral-driven finish. I'm even getting just a hint, not sweet, but a hint of that fig flavor coming through on the backside. This is a very interesting wine, very intense. There's a lot of white wines I can drink without food, but this one I think really would benefit from having some really good shellfish, whitefish, halibut would be great with this. It really has good cutting acidity. Probably wouldn't work, since we're getting close to that time, it probably wouldn't work with turkey that well. I don't know. I don't think so. And the price point, $33, and I probably didn't show you the label either, because I'm getting a little weird here. There's your label, 33 bucks. 33 bones is a fair amount to pay for a Thanksgiving meal. I think this is just a really good shellfish wine, good seafood. Nice intensity on the mid-palate into the finish. Like I said, this is a really good quality wine, very well made. Love that dust. If you like minerality in your wines, this would be exceptional for you. I'm going to go straight up A- on this. I think it's a well-made Etna Bianco. The Caraconti comes through nicely, the volcanic soils. Just a delicious, really good quality white wine. There you go. Now we're going to move on to the Sicilian Frappato from Sicily. It's called Sabbi di Suda. This rolls in at $19. Now, Frappato is an interesting wine. I think in one of my episodes about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, I talked about some of my favorite wines recently, and one of them was a Frappato Nero Mascalese mix. But Frappato is a very interesting wine because if you're not prepared for it, it could kind of shock your palate. And I say this because they're very light. They're oftentimes compared to a Beaujolais, Gamay, a lighter style wine. I think sometimes they can be pretty, they're low in tannins, but they can be high in acidity. So you got to prepare your palate. If you've never had a Frappato, get some guidance on those, because you want to make sure you don't kind of throw yourself off and say, ooh, I really don't like Frappato, because they're not all the same, just like Nero d'Avola and other Etna Biancos and all the rest of them. A little bit darker than some of the Frappatos I've seen in the past. Let's see what we get on the nose. Well, this has kind of a candy-esque, candied cherry thing going on the nose. A little cranberry as well. Kind of perfumed, which is cool, like soap, perfume, cranberry soap, cherry soap, candied cherries. Even a touch of licorice I just got on the nose. So, cool thing about Etna, and the reason a lot of these guys are planting vineyards up there, is that Sicily's a very warm climate, as we talked about in the Nero d'Avola episodes. But as you get higher up on Etna, the growing season stretches out because it's not quite as hot as down on the mainland or down on the sea level areas. And so, as a result, you get here 12.5% alcohol on that one. The Etna Bianco is 12.5, a little lower alcohol levels, which a lot of winemakers like, and they have more room to pick, longer season. In fact, when we were up there in September, I believe they hadn't picked yet some of the grapes, so they were waiting. They had already probably picked down below. Even like a red flower, really cool red flower. Let's see what we get on the palate. Frappato. Lots of cranberry. Get some raspberry in there. And the cherry notes. Nothing candied on the palate, like I said. The acidity is there. Great food wine. If you're prepared for that, this would be a good one with lamb. Things like that. Because it has that good quality to it with the acidity. It'll cut through. I'd have this with duck. Just saying duck breast. Because of the fattiness of that. Very lightweight in the mouth, very elegant. Like I said, lots of cranberry, a little bit of cherry. The red flower notes come through. The red flower petals are definitely there. They come out especially on the back end. You get that nice minerality on this one as well. So this is a food wine. Unless you want to torture yourself, and I know this, I have friends that would drink this solo all by itself because they like that high acid sort of wine. But this really would benefit from food. You know, spaghetti and meatballs, anything like that would be delicious with this wine. It's a good food-friendly red. I would experiment with this one on Thanksgiving personally, but if I had friends over, no way. This is not an 80% wine. This might be in the 15 to 20% range as far as people's palates and what they like. If you had a bunch of acid freaks there, go for it. But yeah, it's light like a Beaujolais, like a Gamay, high in acid, lots of raspberry notes coming through underneath the cranberry and cherry notes. Almost tart, but not quite. Very dry in style. May not have enough fruit for the turkey dinner. Just saying, a little bit more fruit would be perfect. But I think it's a well-made Frappato. I really like this wine for the reason that it makes a great food wine. In fact, I know this would change dramatically if I had some red sauce with pasta right in front of me now. It would definitely change. So I'm going to go B+ on that. I think it's a very well-made Frappato. And if you haven't tried one yet, you should just go out and try it. But make sure you have a plate of something that would go with this in front of you, and you will enjoy it a lot more. Now let's move on to the Tenuta Nicosia Etna Rosso Contrade Montegorno. This rolls in at $33. Etna Rossos can be up there in price. This is 100% Nero Mascalese. Let's spit that out. I just like saying Nero Mascalese. Nero Cappuccio, yeah, it's okay, but Nero Mascalese just sounds so cool, doesn't it? Okay, color fairly dark on this one. I think the lighting's okay here. I like this little setup for now until I get my studio going. Ooh, what an interesting nose on this one. Dark color. Almost getting kind of a umami sort of meat marinade thing going on. Interesting kind of almost like beets coming through. Licorice for sure. It kind of beet, like you whipped up some beets with some cherries. I don't know how that would taste, but that's what it smells like, at least the best I could come up with. You can almost see through this actually, to be honest. It's not super dark. I like the licorice notes coming through, the beet and cherries. Maybe just a touch of black raspberry. Let's see what we get on the palate. That kind of beetroot thing comes through on the palate. A lot of cherries. This baby's spicy. So a lot of spice action on this. Nice body, really smooth across the palate. The tannins are medium. The earth notes are really cool on this one. The volcanic soils really come through, gives it really good minerality. Licorice notes kind of hit on the mid palate, and then in the finish it gets pretty dry on the finish with that good minerality, good acidity, nicely balanced, well-built wine. That interesting kind of earthiness, that beet and cherry and a little bit of raspberry coming through on this one. Again, if you have to be a lover of old world wines to appreciate these wines, seriously, if you're a big Zin drinker and you're going for those big Napa Valley cabs, Syrahs, things like that, your palate may not be prepared for these. But I encourage all of you to expand your palate horizons and look to these. These are food wines. You expect the Italians to make wines to match with food. It's the European way, for sure. I'm not saying they don't do it in the US, they do. Absolutely. But it's not the common mindset. But in Europe, it is. They're thinking about what they're eating in Sicily, how these wines will go with that food, and they're all food wines, for sure. But once again, very complex, nicely built, good balance, good structure. What else can I say? Just a well-built wine. A little bit of Bart nose. Very earthy, minerally, cherry. A little bit of raspberry coming through. A little bit of licorice. I like it. Very well-made wine. 33 bucks, that's a fair amount, but it's really hard to find an Etna Rosso for under 30. There are a couple out there. I'll keep searching for them and find them and help you look for them. But if you just want to really understand what Etna wines are about, these are a good example of all the four varietals actually. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day. I really appreciate it. I'm getting a lot of comments. I'm getting more and more subscribers. That makes me feel good. Thank you very much for your support. And if you haven't subscribed or you're waffling, say, subscribe. You don't have to watch them all, but you'll see what I'm putting out there and you'll know, hey, maybe I want to look at that particular episode. Maybe I want to learn something about the wines of Mount Etna. You keep watching, and I'll keep helping you spend your wine dollars wisely.